Hi Year 10, hope you got on all right with all the compound measures. So you've done density, pressure and speed. So we're moving on now to proportion. We're going to look at direct proportion and inverse proportion and how we tackle these with GCSE questions. So first of all, we've got to get the ability to be able to create the equations in order to be able to solve those questions. So what does proportion mean? So proportion means things can have a direct proportion, so as one's increasing the other's increasing. So a perfect direct proportion would have sort of a graph like that. So as x is increasing, y is increasing by the same amount, so it could be 2 times the amount or 3 times the amount or a quarter of the amount. Okay, also things could be directly proportional in a curve like this. So this bit, the x squared curve, so y could be proportional to x squared and it would look a little bit like this. Okay, so it's going but up, so it's increasing by a given amount or set like that. Now, for example, you might have the amount of rain and the height of a river, so they're in proportion to each other because the more rain, then the river will increase. Okay, or you may have the ingredients in a recipe and the amount of people, so the more ingredients, the more people can eat. Things that are not in proportion to each other is like your maths exams and your English exams. They're not in proportion to each other. Okay, so just because you might have a good score in one maths paper doesn't mean that you're going to have a similar score in an English paper or a proportional amount. Okay, so we're going to look at how we tackle these sorts of questions and the notation that we use. Now, the first thing here, we would say here, x is proportional to y. Now you can see this sign here. You might recognise it on the Corbett Maths logo. Okay, I think it's used instead of an A. So that sign there means proportional to. Okay. Now, what you have to do is be able to set up an equation, and often in the exam, the first part of the question might be set up an equation. Sometimes it'll be simply like this one, to find a value. So you have to still set up the equation. So it might explicitly say set up an equation. It might ask you to find a value, which in order you still have to set up the equation. So either way, you have to do that. Now, when you're setting up an equation, you've got to find the k value. Now, the k value is there for direct and inverse proportion. So what you do is you substitute the proportional sign with an equals. So I'm going to write x equals, and then I'm going to find the k, the value of k. Now I'm going to use a different colour just so we can highlight it each time. Now, our equation is going to look something like this, and I've got to find the value of k. So then you get you're always going to be given some value so you can put in. So you know here that x is 9, so 9 equals k times 3. So we can see then that k is worth 3. So now I can go back here and say x equals 3y. So there's my equation that I've created. Once I've got the equation, I can answer any question. So if y is 33, what is x? Well, 3 lots of 33, so x is going to be 99. Okay. Right, let's have a look at the next one. X is proportional to y squared. So first of all, I set up my equation. Oops. So x is equal to k multiplied by y squared. So I know x is 9, so I'm going to put in my numbers, and then it's going to go to k times 3 squared. Okay. So I can see here that the value of k is 1. So my equation is going to be, going back to this one here, x equals y squared. I don't need to put the 1 in. Sorry, hit the camera. Right, so x equals y squared. If y is 5, what is x? Well, x is 5 squared, so x is 25. Right, let's have a look at other direct proportions. So we've had one just direct proportional to x. We've had 1 proportional to y squared, 1 proportional now to y cubed. So again, it's finding that k value. So y is proportional to y cubed. So x equals, that's my red pen, times y cubed. Now I know here I've got that's 8 is equal to 1 cubed is 1. So I can see then for that to work, the value of k is going to be 8. So I've got my equation then, x equals 8y cubed. Okay, so I've got my equation. Now I've got a question, if y is 10, what is x? 8 times 10 cubed, or 10 cubes 1,000, so that's going to be 8,000. And the last one on these, again, the k value is going to go here. So x is proportional to the root of y. So putting in your values, x is 3, okay. Okay. And the square root of y is 9. So I can see here, 3 is what times 9? So k is going to be 1/3. So going back then, I've got x equals 1/3 of the root of y. Okay. So there's my equation. Then if y is 64, okay, so x equals 1/3 of root 64, which is 8. So 1/3 of 8. Okay, we're just going to have to simply be 8 over 3. Okay. Always try and get in the habit of leaving things as fractions. Top-heavy fractions are fine, improper fractions, rather than decimals, because decimals are a little bit messy sometimes. Okay, let's have a look now at some exam questions on those. So you can print these out if you want to. So I've added them onto notes for lesson 2. Okay, so you've got access to these if you want them as well, to go in your folders. So the first one we've got is, so this is from the exam question. So y is directly proportional to the square of x. So first of all, set up y is proportional to the square of x. That means x squared. So you've got to find your k value. So that's your first step. Then you're going to put in your numbers. So we know y is 24, okay, and x squared is going to be 4. So I can see here that k is worth 6. So I'm going to have my equation, y equals 6x squared. Right, so I've got my formula. Now you can see here, like I said to you before, it doesn't say write out the formula just yet. Okay, it actually wants you to work it. So what's y when x is 4? So 6 times 4 squared. Okay, so 6 times 4 squared, well 4 squared is 16, so 6 times 16 will be 96. Okay, so y is 96. Okay, next question. H varies directly to the cube of c. So see, this one is express h in terms of c, so that means find the equation. So h is proportional to the cube of c. Okay, so I'm going to have my formula with my little k value. Right, then I'm going to put my numbers I've got h is 40, and c is 2, so 2 cubed. 2 cubed is 8. So we can see here that k is 5, isn't it? So I've got my formula, h equals 5c cubed. Now that's the answer to this bit here, because it just wants h in terms of c, so it's asking for that equation. Okay. Find the value of h when c is 5. Well, that's simply going to then substitute in here. So 5 cubed, so 5 times 5 cubed. Okay, well, we know 5 cubed is 125. So that'll be 625. Okay. And then find the value of c when h is a 5,000. Right, so that one we're working backwards. So we know that's 5,000 is equal to 5 times c cubed. So I'm going to divide them both by 5. So that's 1,000 is c cubed. So therefore, what c what makes 1,000? So that's going to be the cube root of 1,000, which is going to be 10. Okay. And the last one. Sorry, this is going on a little bit. So c is directly proportional to the square root of y. So c is directly proportional to the square root of y. So let's find that y. Let's find that k value. So c equals k times root y. So let's put in the values. So we know this is going to be a calculator one here. So 12.8 is equal to k times the square root of 16 is 4. So I can see here then, so that k is going to have to be 3.2. So my equation is going to be c equals 3.2 root y. Okay, that was the answer to this one. Okay. Find c when y is 400. Right, so that's going to be c is equal to 3.2 times the square root of 400. Okay, so the square root of 400 is 20. So 3.2 times 20 will be 64. Okay, smashing. Right, so you've got some questions to have a go at that. Okay, and then I'll see you next lesson for some inverse proportion. Okay, thank you very much and goodbye.